Hello, everybody. I hope that you are doing well. Welcome to Michelle's Inspiration Hour. And I'm Michelle, and welcome. So I hope that you leave more joyful, more inspirational, and have the hope after listening to this episode. So today I want to start with our guest, Nick's favorite quote. People usually consider walking on water or in thin air a miracle. But I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. Every day we are engaged in a miracle that we don't even recognize. A blue sky, white clouds, green leaves, the black, curious eyes of a child, our two eyes, all is a miracle. And I love that because, if we just look around every day, we can see everyday miracles. But a lot of times people always go, oh, that's just a coincidence. That's not a miracle. But the more you see the miracles, the much more your life will be enriched. Let's talk about Nick. Nick supports people to release unconscious patterns, beliefs, and emotional pain that is blocking the natural peace and joy that lies within. And his years of working with a variation of clients who all appear to have different areas of focus, such as business, weight loss, mental health, and relationships, and so forth. Nick discovered that no matter what the area the focus is, the problem and challenges people have always begins with the mind as some sort of emotional block, which a client may not be aware of. Nick then helps his clients release those blocks through various tools, including the Sedona Method, mindfulness, intuitive counseling, prayer, and psychic. All right, so let's go ahead and meet Nick and see where his inspiration is, how he started on this fantastic journey to help others. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for the lovely video. Never had
Oh,
a video made about me, so that was very cool.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, oh, you're the spotlight, and we need to
Yeah.
know a lot about you before you even start. That kind of hits everybody. If somebody is very visual, they
Mm,
have something that they know about you before we even start the program.
right. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
good point.
So tell us. Okay, so
Yeah.
how did you get on this journey? I know that you were when you were younger, and I know you're
Mm.
young now. When you were a young lad, you started, I think you were, I believe, in school, and then something you did, and you're going, okay, this has changed my life. So can you kind of explain in your own words, how did you get down this pathway?
Right, that's a good question. Well, I think like looking back, there's a lot of things that lead, how there's things that lead up to certain things, and you're like, it doesn't seem very meaningful at the time, but then
Right.
it all kind of, I guess, links together, and how can you see how connected everything is. So for me, there was like, I don't know if there was one particular thing, but somehow I ended up in a university in Canberra in Australia. So I'm from Melbourne, and I moved to Canberra to this university because they were the only university that had a physics, a nuclear physics program, which is what I
Oh,
was interested in at the time.
wow.
At the time, I thought it was a cool idea. Um,
I was
to
gonna say
study.
that means that you're extra intelligent then, that you
You
think
think so? But
mathematically.
but I like the idea of it, but when it came to the actual math and all of that, that was like way over my head. I had to study
Mhm.
like it just I saw that it wasn't quite a priority. Like I like I think it's a lot like in life we like the idea of something, but then we actually get to it and it's like this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I got to physics and I'm like, this is really fun, but also this is really really hard. Like you go into a first year uh, physics thing and they throw like third year level math at you. First year math is hard enough.
Oh,
So
yes.
it was really difficult. So I started kind of losing interest in it. Became more interested in things like blockchain and Bitcoin. had a little investment that went up a lot, and then it went down a lot again.
Yeah.
But it got me interested in it. And then like all these kind of little connection points, um, led to probably ayahuasca was the big one.
Hey, and I've got to ask you about that journey because
Yeah,
it seems like that is getting more and more popular. People are
right,
beginning to sign up for it, go, where do I need to go? Because I've
right.
talked to so many people, and it's ever since we kind of connected, like you said, sometimes you hear about things and it kind of draws you that way. And I
Mm,
have talked to so many people that said that changed their life. And then
right.
when I went on your website again, I went, oh, that's right. He did go through that. So I
Yeah.
know, and I know it's personal and it's very
Well, that's
spiritual
fine.
for
Yeah,
everybody.
well, that's a good question. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is. It seems to be coming really popular, a lot more popular, which is really cool. The whole stuff around like psychedelic therapy, things like that, looking at that for healing, and seeing just how healing these plants are. Because in my experience, it certainly was very healing. And there's
Right.
like a guide, very much like a spirit guiding you along the journey. Um, yeah, but you're welcome to ask any questions. Yeah, happy to share.
Oh, no. Well, and I did read that, on your website that it really taught you how to let go because there was
Oh
something
yeah,
that you came across as fear being afraid to die, and
yeah,
you finally learned how to let go, and I feel like, looking at your bio, that kind of led you to do what you decided to do today.
definitely. Yeah, I think so. Like when it taught me how to let go, it wasn't like here is the secret of how to let go. It was more like more just like so much resistance and just no, 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 I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. But it just kept coming back. So in ayahuasca, I kind of experienced it, and I think a lot of people experience it as loops.
Mhm.
So like, let's say, I don't know, I was seeing. It was also my first psychedelic kind of substance. So uh, I was like, oh, this is what it's like, and it was all fun and games for a while, and it was really nice. And then other things started appearing, and I was like, oh, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to see that. um, so like a skull came up in the sky, and I'm like, oh no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no, thanks. Let's leave that out. No, thank you. Um, and to me, I think that it was coming from within me. It was a place
Mhm.
within me, and it was obviously triggered some sort of deep fear.
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
it-
Yes.
yeah, but
Yes.
like this stuff kept appearing. So eventually, I was like very hesitantly at first, but I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's just look at what's going on. But it was more like let's just at some point it just was like let's just die. Like we'll just die.
Mhm.
We've got to do it anyway. So let's just do it. And then, but it really felt that way. It really felt like I did have to kind of accept dying at the time, and then things opened up from that, and it was really beautiful afterwards. But through it, it was very very difficult because I think it was difficult though because there was so much resistance within me and so much like just not avoidance, just not wanting to look at things, pretending like things don't exist, which is a big pattern in my family. So, in terms of how people deal with life and feelings and stuff, it's just like, oh, what feelings? I don't know what feelings you're talking
Oh,
about.
right. Right. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and like you said, though, it helped you heal because I really truly believe that, God, the divine, whoever the source always gives you something in your pathway so that you can help others. And
right.
so, it
Yeah.
sounds like, and I don't want to put this in your words,
No,
it
it's okay.
that it did put you on the journey to helping others.
Yeah, definitely did. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely did. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it really changed kind of because I had a startup at the time. I remember asking like during the experience, I'm like, what about the startup? Because there's like a spirit or something, I don't know, some greater something that you can kind of feels like you can communicate with. Um, and I'm like, what about the startup? And then all I got was just laughter. My interpretation of that is that none of it really matters at the end of the day.
Mhm.
It's not quite what we think it is. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, but it certainly got me more interested in healing. That's where I learned it was PSYCH-K. So the last one's pronounced PSYCH-K.
Okay.
And I learned that modality first. And then I still had questions. I still had, even though I did learn how to let go, it's not like linear. Like I still struggled. I'm like, how do I let go? Even like now, sometimes I ask, what is letting go? What am
Yeah,
I
right.
doing?
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
So it's not like, yes, now I know how to let go. It's more just, it's very natural. I still learn every day what it means to let go, and it's not quite what I thought it was. It's not like actively getting rid of something. It's more just like, okay, that's letting
Right, right,
go.
right, right. So yeah, you talk about those different methods of what you just explained, that you
Yeah.
started with the psychic. Oh, how do you pronounce it?
So it's psych and then K.
Case. Okay. So tell us something about that program. What
Yeah.
made you feel like that's a great program for people to say, "Hey, I need to sign up for this"?
Right, right. So when I learned it, there was someone we were building an app at the time, my friends and I, for a group of people, and one of those group of people was a PSYCH-K instructor. So they do the workshops where you learn PSYCH-K, which is where you have to learn it. And I'm like, okay. At first, I ignored it. I'm like, okay, sure, okay.
Right.
But then I started learning more about the subconscious. I think the first book I read was called Soul. Soul. I don't remember. Soulcraft. Soulcraft by Bill someone. Bill someone. I
Okay.
don't know if that helps.
Yeah.
But it was about like going into nature and using nature as like a tool to help us understand ourselves and our own psyche and our own mind. But it just kind of introduced me to this whole like subconscious stuff. I'm like, oh wow. And then I just remembered this instructor that we had built this, or we were going to build an app for. And so I'm like, well, maybe it's worth just having a chat. And we ended up having a chat. It's like, oh, the nearest one is in Adelaide if you want to come. I'm like, okay, sure. So flew over to Adelaide. And I guess the reason I recommend it to people is because, or the reason I use it is because I found it really effective, really helpful. The workshop was really helpful, helped, I guess, identify some subconscious patterns that were uh, playing out. Sometimes because you're not aware of it, because you see through those eyes, so you can't see what you don't see. So in those,
Exactly.
yeah, right. So in
Uh,
those workshops, it helped just identify some things, and there's like a really nice uplifting group energy as well, which I found really helpful.
oh, awesome.
But then afterwards, I just learned it, and then you can also apply it for health and well-being. Um, and I found that really interesting, and I found that really effective. Like there was someone that I worked with who had a cat allergy. Like they couldn't be with cats, and it's like, hey, this is something really interesting. Um, so there's something called apparent reactive responses. So it's where like it's said through the PSYCH-K lens that a lot of, let's not say all, but a lot of or what appears to be allergies are really emotional. And there's some sort of stress that happens that we may not have conscious awareness of. Some
Mhm.
sort of stress happens, and that emotional stress is still within us, and let's say it gets attached to some sort of substance. So for this person, something happened, and it got attached to cat fur. So every time they in this case, every time they were around cats, they smelt, or that reaction came up. Um, so what we did was we transformed that emotional stress with PSYCH-K, and we found that actually after the one thing, so she went back to this cat. She really likes cats, but she couldn't be with cats, and her allergy just disappeared, and it was really awesome. It was just after one session. I was like, wow, that's so cool. So what ended up happening was she remembered, and it's just so cool. She remembered when she was a kid that she brought home a cat one day, and she lived in like a two-story apartment, but she was very young, and her mum didn't like cats and didn't want cats. So out of panic, she just threw the cat over the balcony.
Oh,
and she didn't know what happened to the cat. It's possible that it passed away, but also cats are very resilient, so
oh yeah.
possibly not. But she thought that, like, she felt really guilty about that. But that was kind of just completely blocked out of her conscious awareness. So as we kind of release the emotional distress of such an incident, it seems to have just completely resolved the allergy. And so that to me showed me that a lot of the things are not what we think they are. Like
Wow.
it's not quite what we think. Um, sometimes for me personally, I experienced really bad back pain.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm like, I did a lot of things, but I kind of had the sense that I couldn't make that a lot of medical things wouldn't be applicable. Not that it's not in all cases, but in this case, I didn't feel it would be applicable. So I just did PSYCH-K around it, and in PSYCH-K you can do things like messages. So we see that conditions have messages to teach us, and that if we learn from it and really understand it, and then integrate those lessons on a subconscious level, then there's no longer a need for that condition. So that's kind of what I've been doing with the back pain.
Oh
So
wow.
today the back pain is pretty okay. It's actually not there at the moment, but it used to be so bad. Oh man! So I originally fell off a tree, and but like I jumped off a tree. So when I say fell, I jumped because I like climbing trees. I jumped off a tree, landed really awkwardly, like straight up like this, and there was just this jolt up the spine, like a nerve, just incredible pain. I couldn't for
Oh.
a while. Just waddled to my bed, like lay in my bed. My friends, my roommate at the time asked, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "That's okay. Just leave me here for a while."
I'm okay, just let me be until I can get my breath back, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but I use that as an opportunity to practice like energy healing and just see
Wow.
what could help. And
Mhm.
it did help a bit, but it also did come back. And for me, it was like, "Ah, damn it, it came back. What did I do wrong? Why is it still here?" But it showed me that there was still a lack of acceptance within me. So this condition will, I think, persist until there is a true deep acceptance of of it as it is. Because if I want to get rid of it, I'm not really loving it as it is. So,
And I
so
love that you said that because a lot of people think, "Okay, I got rid of it, it's not ever coming back." And then when it does, they feel that failure. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? They feel like, I mean, I failed. I thought it was going to be healed. And then they get frustrated. And it's kind of like you keep that rotating, through that
yeah,
cycle.
right,
And
right.
so I love that you said that a lot of times you still have a lot of healing to continue with.
Right. Yeah, and it's layers. Like so much of it is in
Mhm.
layers, and there's so many things that we're like not aware of. Like ayahuasca for me, also just on a bouncing note in terms of layers, it
Oh yeah.
unpacked layers that I wasn't aware of. Like one of the most terrifying things that came up was the fear of being gay, and I'm like, I've never experienced that before,
Mhm.
and it just came up, and like there were like entities that I saw. Um, like I remember once I was so you drink on a mattress, you drink and then you you kind of lie down on your mattress. Remember it's all fun and it was really nice. And then I just see something in the forest. There was a little forest around us. I'm like, what's that? No, 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 no. And then I'm like, because I thought they were like entities. I heard about entities and things like
Mhm.
that or beings. Um, but then I was just on the mattress and this being starts walking up to me and I'm like, oh, that's Julian, who's the guy that facilitated it. I'm like,
Oh.
hang on, that's not Julian. Wait, hang on, this isn't a person. Oh no, please don't come up. Oh no, 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 no. They just kept
Yes.
walking up to me until they touched me. I'm like, oh no, I was freaking out. But it really helped me let go. But again, you let go through freaking out. So it's not what you think it is.
You're
um,
right.
but like experiencing that and all sorts of things in different states. But one of the ones that really hit the hardest was really this fear of being gay, and there was just so much resistance to it, and I was so confused by it. I was
Mhm.
extremely confused by it, but it led me to understand more things about myself, and also it led me to explore things like past lives
Mhm.
and past life regression, and that's where I had this, my partner, she's very intuitive. Very intuitive. I'm getting there,
Yeah.
letting go of a lot. But still, there's still, there's that analytical mind, the skeptical mind, which has certainly released a lot, but it's still there. It still likes to come in every now and then.
Yeah.
um,
Right.
so I had this sense that, maybe there was something like, I just thought, for some reason, that I was like a gay priest in a past life. And with PSYCH-K, you can also do muscle testing. So muscle testing is
Oh.
something you learn, kinesiology. And kinesiology allows you to test certain things. So for example, for my partner, I would test what kind of foods she can and can't eat and what would make her skin react. And it would be pretty good, pretty accurate. So we'd use it to explore things like past lives. So I might have an intuition about, is this the case? I might get yes, I might get no. So we explored some things, and it turned out to be the case. But and my partner's intuition, which is very accurate, you can show her a photo of someone, and she'll
Mhm.
tell you exactly what's going on. But even then, I still had my doubts, and I'm like, well, how do I really know? How
Mhm.
am I just making this up? Is this just a convenient way to, to avoid something? What's happening?
Right.
So yeah, but it led me to experience a past life regression through hypnosis, and then it did come up, and I was like, oh, okay. So, and I learned more about it, and it helped me understand what I was feeling, but also helped me empathize really deeply with what that's like and what it's like to live back in the. So for me, something I discovered was I was around in like maybe it was the 1400s in
Wow.
discovered Ireland. And being a gay priest back then, you'd imagine,
Mhm.
people burnt each other back then. So
Right.
not
Right.
exactly, a very warm and welcoming place. But it helped me understand what I was feeling, because it was just so intense,
That is very
and it
interesting, and
kind
that
of
just shows
confused
you
me based on that.
that a oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I
Oh
feel
no,
like I
please.
interrupted you.
That was all.
I
Oh
I
no,
think I think
yeah,
you said a great point about your past life and saying,
yeah,
that's where your fear came from. And a lot of people
right,
don't realize that. And thank goodness that you have your partner in your life who is very in tune to it. It is an intuitive, because that way you
yeah.
can kind of bounce off your ideas because she believes. And have you always been a believer in it?
No, probably not. Before ayahuasca, no. After,
Okay.
yes. Um, More open to it. But still, it's just more that I didn't experience it myself personally. So having that experience helped me kind of see
Oh,
things a bit um, more clearly, I think. So
that is.
intellectually, like I was open to the idea that we did have past lives and that there's more to it than what we thought. But it's different when it's an idea than when it is, something that you experience. Um,
Absolutely. Hey, I need to maybe contact your partner, because that's one of the things, I'm a medium and a psychic, but whenever it comes to looking at pictures, I
yeah,
tend to, because I have also been a behavior analyst. So I look at people's body language. So I always have to get that ego or that analytical thinking out of my head so that
right.
I can read a picture intuitively. So it takes more work for
Yeah,
me, if that
yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. I get it. I get exactly what you mean because I have the same thing. I find that I'm now able to do the same thing because, like, hey, you can. It's nice to have someone you can bounce things off. So you just blur, you just
Absolutely.
say, and then you're like, oh, okay, so we're picking up on similar things here, or yeah. So it does. Yeah, it helps to have someone to bounce stuff off of. Definitely. Yeah.
My husband finally just said, "You know what? I think you need to do you. You
Yeah.
just go for it."
Yeah.
He doesn't, I mean, he accepts it.
Yeah.
But I don't think he doesn't, and I think he's in tune himself, but he's so analytical that it's
Yeah.
hard for him to get past that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very common in our
Okay,
culture.
well, before the last question of the day, is there anything that you want to tell our listeners about any type of inspiration that taught you that you feel like, you want to tell them about?
Inspiration.
Mm.
Right. That's a good question.
Or okay, let's put it another way. Maybe, because everything's inspirational. But
Yeah.
what do you feel like your knowledge is to help people go down their journey?
Right, right. Well, is it I can just walk people through like a little bit of what it's like to
Mhm.
release something, if that's helpful. Is that-
Absolutely. And where can they
yeah.
reach you?
They can just, my name is Nick Shibanov and my website's just nickshibanov.com. And that's probably the best way to reach me. There's email, but yeah, that would be the best way. Just
Yeah.
my website. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
So whenever a client comes to you
yeah.
and they're going, "I don't know what to do. What should I do?" What I mean, how do you get them started in your program?
Yeah, well, we can do it now if you'd like.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It'll only take a moment, conscious of time. So I see that little timer.
Oh, no,
Uh,
it's okay. No, no, no. Okay, so do you want me to pretend I'm a client?
no, 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 you can just be as you are.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
don't
okay.
have to pretend or anything. And whoever's listening can join in as well. But how I usually start the session is like we all come in wanting something, and we all have something going on in our mind. But something that's really helpful is just to stop for a moment. So something that I usually start with is it's kind of like a guided meditation,
Okay.
um, that kind of it just helps you open up and
Mhm.
recognize that what you are is not the thoughts, or it's not what you think you are. It helps take a step back. So one of these questions is just for a moment, regardless of whatever is coming up, could you just stop for a moment? And stop means just be here.
Mhm.
And could you just let yourself be as you are and notice any thoughts that are coming up, any feelings, any sensations, any memories, any sense of urgency that there's something to fix? Because often we're not aware of that. We're not aware of that sense of pressure that we carry out within ourselves, and that sense of this is something wrong and something that I have to change. But that judgment actually makes it feel way worse. And that judgment is why it feels so bad. It's not actually the thing itself, it's the resistance to it. So
Right.
one of the questions that helps open that up is just, well, could you just let it all be here for a moment? And then that question tends to stir up resistance. It's like, no, I don't know, go away. So, you just kind of keep peeling back the onion, like there are layers to it. So, seeing that resistance, well, one question that is used is, could you just notice, even just noticing, could you notice that resistance? Notice that there's some judgment. Could you notice that there's a bit of not wanting it to be there? And just, something that's fun and helpful is to actually check how that feels. Whether that actually, first of all, whether it feels nice to not want something to be there. Because in my experience, it's very constricting.
Right.
And secondly, whether it actually helps, whether not wanting it to be there actually makes it go away, or does it do the opposite? Does it make it worse?
Yeah.
Because if
Right.
you investigate it, you start to see that it just makes it worse, and you see how absurd it is, and then you just tend to kind of laugh. And then that in of itself is a release. Sometimes we think release, I need to let go, step one, step two, but it's not like that. It's just so natural.
Mhm.
It's really natural actually. And then the last question, something that's really really helpful is, are you that? So whatever that is, are you that thought? Are you that feeling? Are you that memory, that idea? Or are you that which is aware of that, seeing it? When you recognize, you might see, I see it. So you see that it's not what you are.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It becomes
Exactly.
a lot easier to let go, because
Yeah.
if you think you are that, you can't let go, because what are you letting go of? You,
Mhm.
you know?
Right.
So
Right.
these questions just tend to help open things up. And the funny thing is they're so effortless. Its sessions are so effortless, so easy. And it can be confusing to the mind because the mind's so used to doing things about things. It's like, what do I do? Step one. Okay, now I have an outcome. But it's not like that. It's very releasing. It's very kind of intuitive. It's very natural. And you sometimes you just don't even know what happened. You're just like, I don't know. Okay. And then things come up again. But each time they come up, it's a little different because there's that little. So when I work with people, it's not about changing or fixing things. But what just so happens to happen is as you let go of wanting that, it tends to happen in and of itself. Things just pass. Things resolve themselves. The heaviness that was there tends to dissolve when it is embraced, when there's an embrace of it. So that's kind of more the approach that I take with people is just, to use whatever's coming up as actually it's supposed to be there. It's coming, it's agitating you because there's agitation within you. It's not that it's triggering something within you. So let's make space for that and let it come up here and see what it has to say.
Yeah.
Rather than try to push it away. Because when you listen to it, when you hold out a space for it, it will come up. It will teach you, and it will just dissolve by itself. So yeah, that's kind of the essence of how.
I love that. And I bet you that when somebody goes through something like that, it wears them out because they're having to think about each question. And like you said, it's a reflection and it probably stirs the pot. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
A lot.
It actually is very, it can go either way, but sometimes it does bring up resistance and agitation. But like my job being there with someone is I just kind of sense into where that person is and what exactly is the block or what are they seeing, and just meet them there. It actually is quite easy. It does bring up resistance, but the thing is that resistance is welcome. That resistance has always been there.
Yeah.
And it's always been there in the background. It's just that having a space for it to come up makes things so much easier. And you start to see just how hard life has been, and we didn't even realize because we've been pushing back on everything and trying to figure everything out, and none of that was necessary. We could have just but at the same time, that's all we knew. That's all we knew. So it's actually not so much of a thinking about things. It's more, if I would say, it's like sensing. People sense that what they are is not what they think they are. Like one of the questions, which I love to explore with people, including everyone, myself as well, is can you find this me? So, we have this idea of what we are, and we believe it's so fixed and rigid, and that we are a person. So one of the questions we ask is, can you find this person? And at first it's like, well, yeah, of course, I can find this person. Here it is. But then so you start to look a bit deeper. Okay, so is that thought, if you look in your direct experience, can you actually locate this feeling? Can you locate this feeling of me? Can you actually find it in your experience? And you start to look and you see it's not what you think it is. It might be a bit harder to find than what you think. Not to say that there is not a body. There certainly is a body.
Yeah, right, right.
What if that's not what you are? And what if the reason it's hard to find a center is because there is no center? That there's no center. There's just this awareness that has no boundary. That actually, that what you are right now, whatever what all is just this awareness that has no boundaries. But there's this belief that's been energized and conditioned and reinforced for centuries of believing that not only are you a person, you're a type of person. You're either a good person, bad person, whatever, all the sorts of beliefs. So as those dissolve, you just start to feel all this lightness and freedom. But it's not personal. It's not what you are. It's not you, but it is what you are. It's your nature. It's kind of funny like that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us because it kind of gives people a knowing and acknowledgement that they need to contact you so that they expect it. Oh yeah, I'm going to be going through all of this. That is fantastic. So thank you so much for what you're doing to help heal people.
My pleasure. And thank you. Thank you for the show.
You're welcome. You ready for your last question?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so let's go ahead and let me spin the wheel, and and you'll be able to see it a little bit better because I know it's real little from where you're looking. Oh my gosh, and you even talked about this.
Ah, okay. Believe in aliens. Right.
So, do you believe in aliens?
It's a good question. Yes and no. So, like, yes, in the sense of I believe that there are other dimensions and other beings out there. No, as in I don't believe in the same sense that it's kind of portrayed. It's like flying saucers and things like that. Um, More that there are other dimensions that are different to this dimension that have various different beings in them. I definitely see that. um, but in terms of this dimension, I believe that some people can also see, or there's a see into those dimensions, but not like in the way that we think. It's kind of, yeah. It's not what we think it is. That's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
I totally, and I always love to hear the different definitions and different ideas because everybody approaches it differently. And some people have different experiences. And
right,
ever since I got
totally.
into the metaphysical world, I don't question anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful, but I just love to learn from what everybody thinks about because that's where I learn the most.
Right.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. We
Okay.
appreciate your healing, your wonderful knowledge, your journey that you've been on. So I appreciate you spending your time with us.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. Yeah,
Thank
pleasure.
you. All right. So I hope that you have enjoyed the show. I hope that again that you have found the inspiration, the challenge, because I think there are many, many challenges that everybody has to go through to peel back those onions and find out what is troubling you, what you're being triggered. And it's very interesting that Nick also brought up that we have past lives that we've experienced something that may have come back to haunt us, as we shall say. So, thank you so much for listening and being a part of the show. So may you go forth and think about what your life story is. How can you inspire others? Thank you so much.